The LSU football Tigers have been one of the more heavily criticized teams in all of college football. They're one of the teams that I consider a sleeping giant. I think that this is a team that you don't want to anger. You don't really want to underestimate, because every time this team has kind of been underestimated in a way, LSU has always kind of rebounded, and they've always kind of fed off that negative energy, and LSU has translated that into success. So I look at the LSU football Tigers and everything that's going to get brought back to this football team. I truly do believe that this is probably going to be a 9, 10, maybe 11-win football team. But could I see this? Could I see this football team winning the SEC West? Absolutely. Could I see this team winning a national championship even this year? I could see that. If you look at all the talent, and then you hear you hear a lot of positivity going into the offseason, right? Last year was nothing but negativity. You had COVID going on. You had, whatever. But yeah, you had COVID going on. You had so much drama between the locker room. You had the protests going on. You had, again, the disruption with the coaching staff, with Ed Orgeron and the rest of the coaching staff. So it was just nothing but just negative drama impacting the LSU football Tigers. This year, for the most part, it's been a lot of positivity. Ed Orgeron has gone on multiple podcasts, multiple shows, and has stated that, listen, these guys are hungry, these guys are motivated. Not to mention that the chemistry of this football team, which I do believe is the most important part, the chemistry of this football team is there. Last year, it was a bunch of freshmen, sophomore players, a lot of opt-out, a lot of opt-outs. It was just a negative mess, and you just didn't really have the time to have this team bond during the offseason. This year, nothing but team dinners, nothing but discussions and debates between these guys. I mean, the chemistry is all there. So now you have to take into fact that a lot of those guys dealt with the adversity that they dealt with last year, with all the losses and all the drama going on in the offseason, and then you look at the season, it was a complete mess. But then you look at, again, those late couple of wins, right? You look at that game against Florida, which the infamous shoe game, they did beat a top 10 team because of that. And then they ended up beating the Ole Miss Rebels. And again, even though they ended the season 5-5, the LSU football Tigers had plenty of momentum. But also, the most important part was that they had plenty of experience, and a lot of that experience is coming back to the 2021 football season. So when you look at the entire LSU football depth, from the quarterback position, from the running back, receivers, offensive line, defensive line, cornerbacks, safeties, linebackers, special teams, kickers, and punter, LSU might just be the deepest team in all of college football. If you just look at the totality of LSU's football depth. And if you look at the positions, a majority of those positions have impact players. Like, for example, you look at the secondary. Even though LSU gave up 34.9 points per game on defense, Derek Stingley Jr., we all know, is one of the best cornerbacks in all of college football, and he's most likely going to be a top 10 pick. Eli Ricks had five or six interceptions last year as a true freshman. He was one of the best cornerbacks in all of college football. So arguably the best cornerback tandem in college football. And then you can if you want, you could put a guy like Cordell Flott in the slot, a guy that can fit there. You look at their safety tandems, guys like Jay Ward and Todd Harris Jr., plenty of guys that have so much experience. And then you also bring in some five-star talent at those safety positions as well. Then you look at your linebacking position, and yes, Micah Bakersfield, we'll see if he can play or not. I know he's dealt with academic issues, but a guy with an extreme amount of talent. Navante Q, I think his name was Navante Q Strong, or I might have said that backwards. But Navante Q was the number one linebacker from JUCO, and you look at a guy, and LSU has done phenomenal with their talent, especially at the JUCO level. So I look at a guy like Navante Q Strong that brings a lot of that college experience over, and a guy that could contribute right away. But if not, then again, you still have depth at your inside and your outside linebacking positions. Right, you look at the defense. You look at the defensive line. Glenn Logan is still there. You look at guys like Ali Gay as your pass rusher, more of a raw edge rusher, but still was tremendous promise right there. Neil Farrell is also there as well. Parker's there. B.J. Ojolari, who had a very explosive freshman year, the guy that could get better. B.J. Ojolari could be that number one pass rusher that LSU has kind of been missing. Since maybe about a couple of seasons ago when they missed guys like Kalavian Chason. So BJ Ojolari could step in that position as a true sophomore. The quarterback position is, again, it's deep. Now, you do lose TJ Finley, but when Miles Brandon and Max Johnson are competing, guys with plenty of experience at your quarterback positions and guys that saw success there, it's one of the deepest quarterback rooms in all of college football. Your running back room is deep with John Emery Jr. and Tyron Davis Price, and then you bring in guys like Armani Goodwin, who was the number one running back out of the state of Alabama as a true freshman. You also bring in the running back from Ohio. Forgot what his name was, but he's a guy that brings in exceptional talent. Your receivers there with Keyshawn Butte. And just others at the receiving position. And then you have to add into the fact that the offensive line, even though it wasn't the best offensive line in the world, it still was a very productive offensive line. You still return a lot of experience. I think there were like, 4 or maybe even 5 starters from your offensive line, including a guy like Ed Ingram, who is a very important piece, who could have honestly been a top 50 draft pick if you would have declared for the NFL draft. So the LSU football Tigers are loaded at those type of positions. Now, just like how, again, I implemented a little bit further back, the chemistry has been there. And a huge contributing factor to that is because of the coaching staff, right? Ed Orgeron had to pretty much get an entire, I want to say not an entire, but yeah, pretty much a brand new coaching staff. As far as the more important kind of key positions like your offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator position, especially with Steve Ensminger kind of stepping down and becoming an analyst, you now have to bring in a lot of guys like Jake Petts and DJ Mangus. And then the defensive side of the ball, Durante Jones, who I believe is a former LSU football player, a guy that has a tremendous amount of respect all throughout the campus. Durante Jones is a guy that kind of helped get the chemistry between these young players. So the coaching staff, one of the things that last year plagued LSU was the fact that these players not only complained about Ed Orgeron, they kind of complained about the coaches there, right? Bo Pelini and these players, they just did not have that much. The connection was off. So the fact that, again, the players, the connections, the chemistry, the bonding is there, that is a huge positive going into a year where, again, you're coming off a 5-5 year after previously winning the national title. So momentum is swinging. The momentum is swinging in a positive in a positive way. It's swinging in a positive direction, which is a huge plus for the LSU football Tigers going in. Then you have to factor in the schedule. We can't forget about the schedule. It's not a difficult schedule, right? Your first 3 to 4 games are probably 4-0. That's about it. I mean, you don't play Georgia. You do play Florida, but we all know that's more of an annual rivalry. The good thing is that LSU is playing Florida at home. You have Alabama. You do play Alabama. That's tough. Ole Miss is always going to be a tough competitive game. A&M is going to be tough. But again, just looking at the entire schedule, it's not a difficult schedule for LSU. LSU could easily win 9 or 10 regular season games easily off that schedule alone. So definitely going into the 2021 season, again, LSU is they're definitely one of the more heavily critiqued teams in all of college football. Not a lot of people, in a way, respect LSU. They just think that it's just a season wonder, and that's just about it. But for a person that has a tremendous amount of respect and that's watched LSU for years, we all know LSU continues to they're going to continue to develop not just talent for the next level, but but again, they're very similar to Alabama in a way where players leave, they're going to continue to refuel. They're going to continue to get those players up and running. Now, they might not do it like in Alabama, like in Ohio State, or like a Clemson, but at the same time, LSU has been doing it for years. And I mean, for plenty of years now. So the LSU football Tigers, especially with all the experience that's come back, that's one. I forgot to mention this, guys. We also have to definitely put into a fact about this. Every time LSU has a bunch of starters coming back, LSU wins 10 games every single year. When they have a lot of that experience coming back, they win 10 plus games every single year. So we need to put that into consideration before we critique LSU and we kind of ride them off of being a national championship contender or even a dark horse contender. But anyway, guys, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button. Definitely helps out this channel out. Definitely subscribe if you want more college football content. We got that coming all throughout the summer. But anyway, guys, this is Jan Sports, aka Jan716, and I will catch you guys in a little bit. Peace.